The following is a KOAT Action 7 News special presentation.
On May 4th last year, the National Park Service ignited what was supposed to be a controlled burn at Bandelier National Monument.
This effort to alleviate the fire hazard in the area quickly got out of control and through a series of errors, delays, and mistakes, eventually burned 48,000 acres and destroyed more than 400 homes.
Tonight, with the help of many people in Los Alamos, KOAT has prepared a one-hour special, examining life after the fire.
Fire's Flight by Bobby Fuselier. Without mercy, flies down hills, leaving nothing but trees, like pins penetrating through the ground. An element stronger than power will take flight. If water is near, we prevail. We will prevail.
It was just scary, and Wednesday night when the winds were blowing, our house was fine, and then Thursday it was gone completely.
You never think it's going to happen to you. It always happens to someone else. You never think it's going to happen to you. But then it does, and then it's worse than you think it would be.
May 7th of 2000, Los Alamos was evacuated. The Cerro Grande fire was about to invade and change this community forever.
This is a story about much more than burned homes and lost belongings. It's about changed lives in Los Alamos after the fire.
When the fire was approaching, there's this, what they call the threat phase, where people are very scared and worried, and there was the evacuation, which the whole community here had to evacuate, and that's a very traumatic experience, because an evacuation is something that most people never even go through in their whole lifetime. And people up here who were evacuated sometimes come to me and say, well, gee, I should be fine. I mean, I didn't lose anything, but they did go through an evacuation, so that was traumatic in itself.
We were doing yard work, and I was planting flower seeds, and we began to smell smoke, and then we began to see this dark cloud over in that direction. And it got bigger and darker. About 6 o'clock it turned red. And at that point, we decided it was time to get out, and the call to evacuate came about the same time.
We have a rapidly moving commercial with a second pass. There is an immediate
Well, we were using PAs mostly going through there, just calling for people to evacuate, and then the few people that we would see that were loading up stuff in their cars. Actually, we had an elderly couple that came outside and asked us if they could just stay, and we had to pretty much influence them to leave. They were pretty determined that they were going to stay. It wasn't that bad, and actually I believe their house burnt.
First heard it on the radio about half an hour ago, and so we started packing stuff from here.
When we finally seen it come over LA Mountain, and the soot and smoke and everything kind of turned black, and the moon turned bright evil red, and we kind of, some of us looked at each other and just said, oh, here we go.
When we were at TA-16, we had a big flare-up and we lost it. And at that point, it started hitting town here, and you could hear it on the radio. You know, guys screaming, you know, we need water, and it was getting pretty crazy. And I got on the cell phone. I don't know how I managed to do it, but I got through to my dad because they live in White Rock. And I told him we just lost it out at TA-16. And I said, you guys better get out of there. I think you guys better start thinking about leaving. And I remember what he said. He said, it's that bad? And I said, yeah, it's that bad.
We were getting ready to go to bed, and then Dad got a call on his cell phone saying, you have to get evacuated, and Dad said, grab 3 pairs of clothes now. And we took 2 cars, and we picked up my mom's aunts, and they didn't want to leave at all.
we were at Urban Park and we saw that thing come over the mountain, and your heart just sank, and it's like, here it comes. It's time to get ready to go.
The noise rumbling and the trees just swaying back and forth, and it's just it's overwhelming noise. That's what it is.
So that was the day the devil came to town.
They had fire all around them, and they weren't going to back out. They were not going to back out. They didn't move out. They stayed. They let it go around them and kept fighting.
One particular house, I think, we nicknamed it our house because we went back to it so many times and we were determined to save it. But I think we went how many times? 4 or 5? 5 or 6 times. And every time we come back, the garage would be on fire, and we'd put it out, take off, come back, garage would be on fire again. Finally, we got a foam truck in there after the fire made its run, and we were able to extinguish it. And it got pretty scary. I mean, we had houses blowing up around us. I mean, literally just explode. The heat was overwhelming. We were just wearing wildland gear with dust masks, and it did get pretty scary there at times.
Forgot to mention that we were on the fire prevention truck, which is just a Chevy truck. We didn't have any water or pumps or anything, just hand tools and our canteens, kiddie pools. I used a lady's squirt bottle from her backyard by her hammock one time.
Fortunately, a lot of the residents, they had the foresight to put garden hoses with sprinklers up on their roofs. We used a lot of those.
This fire got big. If you remember, we talked about the day of the blow up. It was 3,700 acres, and it went to 18,000 acres in 5 hours. That's when it overran Los Alamos in the lab and escaped all our control lines and went pretty much where it wished.
Although the entire town was evacuated, either by accident or fate, at least one man ended up alone and in trouble.
The emergency responders were driving up and down the street with loudspeakers saying evacuate, and there were calls coming in through some automated dialing system on the telephone. So I knew it was time to evacuate, and I had planned to evacuate, and I left. But then I thought, well, I'll come back and get one more vehicle. While I was there, I thought, well, I'll just drive by the old house one last time and see how things are going. Because at that time, between 5:30, the fire was here. I mean, the smoke was thick. The houses were being ignited in the over on the next ridge over, and I knew it was bad.
First, there is the warning phase when there's the warning that there might be an evacuation. Then there is the actual threat phase when the evacuation does take place and the actual disaster takes place.
I'm not a martyr. I didn't intend on risking my life. So I had my car parked out front, ready to go in case it got too bad. But I was over there at the edge of the canyon. One of my strategies was to keep the fire from coming up over the end of the rim of the canyon. You can see the base of the trees are burnt down here, and so the fire was trying to come up, and I would fight it down. I had sprinklers set, I had hoses, I was running back and forth trying to keep it wet down. And I was over there in a rock outcropping and just sort of doing one of these because it was hot and the fire was right there and the smoke was coming up. And about that time, the wind was hellacious that night. So I was doing this over the edge, trying to keep it from coming up over, and the wind shifted. There was some sort of chimney effect where it was like a blast furnace. The flames just blew right up over the rim of the canyon. Not only the smoke, but the flames came up, and I just hit the dirt. And I couldn't breathe. The smoke was dense, and so all I could think of was to get my face as close to the ground as possible, and surely there was going to be air down there. Well, I had my nose buried in the dirt and my hat pulled down over my head. And I couldn't breathe. As close as I was to the ground, I was stuck in dirt, but it was no air, it was just smoke. And so I'd sip and wait, And it seemed like forever, but it had to have been 45 seconds to a minute, and I couldn't get in the air. And I thought, and I couldn't see. I couldn't see to go anywhere. I couldn't breathe. So I thought, this is it. They're going to find a piece of toast in the morning. And then after about a minute or so, the wind, wild as it was, shifted. It went back another direction, and it cleared up enough to where I could get a gulp of air, and I got up and I ran up out of there. No, time was going by real slow. No, real slow for me. I was like, it was in agony. I just was praying for rain, praying for the wind to stop, you know, a lot of prayers, praying for some help to come by, you know, and time was going by real slow. And as the evening wore on, especially after the water stopped coming, and I had to fight it with a rake and a shovel, I about 2 in the morning, I was exhausted. I could barely stand up. And so I went in, but I knew I needed to rest, and I figured, well, if I rest, I'll fall asleep. If I fall asleep, I'm liable to get toasted and burned to death, and the house will look good. So I went inside the house, and I got the little wind-up kitchen timer. And I came back outside, and, and I leaned against a tree over there and put the kitchen timer next to me and set it for like 20 minutes. Closed my eyes, and I mean, when they were open, there was nothing but orange sky and smoke, and when I closed them, it was the same. I could see exactly the same things. It didn't help to close my eyes. Time was very distorted for me, and so no, it was the worst thing I've ever encountered. It is a year calendar-wise, but it doesn't seem like a year to me. I mean, the fire almost happened, in my mind, it happened like now. It didn't happen very long ago. You know, I drive up the street and the houses are gone. Neighbors and friends that used to live there are gone. And I look around town and there's the black skeletons everywhere. To heal over it, it's going to take a lot of time. I don't know if I'll ever get over it.
It takes at least 3 years to truly recover. It's perfectly normal to still be having reactions to this disaster. And I mean, by reactions, I mean physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual. Going through something like this is more depleting on all those levels than people realize. It's possible that some people who have been fine this whole year might start having some reactions in the next year. And all I want to say is that that's normal. Be gentle with yourself and take care of yourself.
You think to yourself, well, sure, the forest is burning and there's all this, you know, this damage in the hills that we're going to have to live with, and everybody's sad about that, but they'd never let the town burn. They will never let the town burn, whoever they are. You know, it just would never happen.
Next, the phase psychologists call the heroic or honeymoon period of recovery.
As we continue the story of Los Alamos after the fire. As the fire swept through Los Alamos, at one point, 1,500 firefighters were battling those flames.
So too were some of the men who had built Los Alamos and its homes.
See, what do you think of the fact that they did a controlled burn for this?
You know, it's easy to judge, but those people from Bandelier, they care about the forest probably more than any of us do, and I'm sure they put careful thought into it, and it's just an unfortunate accident. I wouldn't put the blame to anybody. We were sitting at Ashley's Pond while the town was burning down, and Brad called me up and said, basically, you know, I can't sit here and watch this town burn down. We're going to do something. So he came over and got one of our water trucks, and I had another one on standby, and I jumped in the other water truck. I was born and raised here, so I know a lot of these people.
So it was a combined effort of
3 to 4, 5 different contractors, which is it's kind of a cool idea that here we are. Yesterday we were competitors, even though we're friends, we were competitors, and we joined together forces to save a small part of our community. And then we spread, after we thought we had this controlled out, one of them went to the other side of town, and another one went, and we kind of spread out a little bit after we thought we had most of this under control.
There's traditionally what is called a honeymoon period, and I would say that this community definitely had that, where everyone is pulling together, and the whole state, of course, pulled behind the community here wonderfully. People from Albuquerque, Taos, the Pueblos, Española, everywhere, Santa Fe, really gave so much. And everyone was very positive and feeling like we're going to make it, we're going to do fine, we're great. And the community here was all very strong and upbeat.
And this one lady, I don't know where she lived, but she made us Christmas stockings, 700 of them handmade.
And by the time we were moving in, that sign out there that says North Mesa welcomes you has been there from the beginning. And, you know, scouts and church groups brought things for Christmas, for Valentine's Day.
When we got back into town, we didn't have a place to stay, and some people who my dad works with let us stay with them. And then after that, a friend of my dad's has a house up in town, and they're renting it to us till we find a house of our own.
After the fire, we ended up in Santa Fe with total strangers who were incredibly generous to us. And we realized that our security, it comes from our relationships with people. It comes from the people who help us and the people that we can help when they're in need. And that's given us the security that we need to get through this. We have a safety net. It's not financial, it's people. It's friends and family and church and neighborhood and total strangers. It's been amazing.
In the days following the fire, the outpouring from communities across the state and the country was monumental.
In addition to more than $1 million in aid to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund, donations included clothing, food, personal items, and of course, hours of volunteer help and assistance.
When we were evacuated from the town, there was a wonderful spirit of everybody reaching out to everyone else. It was an amazing sort of connectedness. Everyone was in the same boat, although some had lost their houses and some hadn't. We all knew the fear of losing it. We all had to face that it might happen, even if it didn't happen for us. And people were wonderful.
And then after that honeymoon period, predictably, is a slow sort of drop in morale. And the feelings start to surface for what people went through. And everyone goes through this in their own space and time. I cannot say that enough times. A lot of times someone will say, well, I'm fine, but my mate isn't. And that's caused a lot of marital stress. People go through this differently. But what has been going on for the last year is a predictable sort of slide into what might be considered, as a community, a low point.
I said, somebody wake me up. I've been saying that for a long time, but this is reality, and it's hard to see it like this. People say, well, it will come back, not in my lifetime. I don't know how many years I have left, but I don't have that long. I'm sure of it. But a close friend of mine just moved in this house over here, so this is very sad to know that we're not going to be neighbors after all. And I just, I look over here and I just can't believe it, even today.
I know, I was real surprised last week when I was like, I feel really weird, because I'm not sad very often. I was like, I feel weird, and it took me a while to realize that's what it was. So I'm just, it's been a hard week for everybody in the family.
We had a lot of miniature roses in the front,
And tulips.
And tulips. Yeah, the tulips are
There are tulips in the manhole.
But we saved some of the roses.
I hadn't expected that. The county had to dig up this front section here. It's a gas line easement, and they dug it up twice. And of course, both times the plants got a little bit muddled, and the bulbs must have just ended up down there.
Actually, I was just looking at this, and this was our driveway. It started right here, and then there was a fence here, and my flower garden started over here.
A year after the fire, neighbors on 46th Street get together once again.
We loved this block. We loved this neighborhood. We had block parties on the neighborhood street, and we had a block party after the fire. We wanted to stay connected with the people who were our neighbors.
Oh, good, here comes the Barretts. Yay! We got a new baby in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Hey, girl.
We'll have to have another party, won't we?
Well,
Get
actually,
together.
yes.
Oh,
I got a little fat chick. Oh my gosh, she is a chub.
She is. This is Lily and the fire baby. I don't think anybody needs any more information than that. What else do you do on evacuation? Please don't say
You should have called her Phoenix.
Yeah, right. Well, the names Ashley and Ember came up. So.
Everybody was taking pictures up Arizona, and we figured if Arizona was gone, we might be too, but we kept having that, roller coaster emotions, because then you'd say, oh, now look at this house right in the middle and it didn't burn. So everybody was like, well, maybe mine didn't burn, and we thought for sure these guys wouldn't, because they had just put on, the steel roof, what was it? Pro panel roof. And
Hadn't even finished paying for it. Talk about a shock, having to go and pay for a roof after your house is burned down.
I remember when I stood in the grocery store for the first time, I just stood there and cried. You need everything. You have nothing. It's like you move out of your parents' house, and Mom and Dad aren't there to hand it to you. You've got to go buy it all.
And the list in your head is gone, because you knew what you had in the house, and you go to the grocery store, no, I have that. No, I don't.
I know.
Buy it again.
Or worse, I've got 3 bottles of log cabin syrup in the fridge now, because I keep thinking I have to get some log cabin syrup, but I keep forgetting I've already bought it.
And for me, it's going to take a long time, because everything in our new home is foreign. I walk in, I go, oh, this is somebody's nice house. I look at the furniture, this is somebody else's furniture, although it's ours, it just doesn't, it's all unfamiliar. So when we start getting familiar things, and we just have to make new memories, for me, that's when it's going to feel like home.
Stuff that surrounded you, like your granddad's furniture, it's going to take years to have something like that
Yeah,
back.
he still cries about this house. He misses his house, my son here. Our little special Olympian over here. It's hard. We were forced to move when we weren't ready to move, and we've lost our neighbors. We've lost our good neighbors, and I don't even know my neighbors.
All these things contribute to disillusionment. When people look around, they remember what it used to look like and what it looks like now. It's very sad. Also, the cumulative effect of the paperwork and the stressors there just catches up with people. They start finding out that maybe they're not going to get everything they thought they were going to get, or there's more to do than they thought there was going to be to do, or a lot of people are just, they can't decide whether to rebuild or not, because their lot is now in an area that's all burned and there's no trees, and the reason they loved their lot in the first place was because there were trees. There's just so many stressors.
Thus far, FEMA has given out more than $102 million in aid to help housing, businesses, and more.
Coming up, insurance, FEMA, some of the frustrations as Los Alamos begins the process of recovery after the fire.
In the FEMA newsletter to victims of the Cerro Grande fire, Senator Pete Domenici says, quote, "The important point is that the federal government accepted responsibility for setting the fire, and it will be responsible for providing restitution to victims."
But while FEMA and insurance companies try to sort out the money, frustrations grow regarding all that paperwork and time.
We continue now with KOAT's documentary on Los Alamos after the fire.
Last day I was here, the day before the fire, there were hummingbirds coming to our hummingbird feeder. That apricot tree was loaded with apricots. It's all gone. It's not just the house, it's the beauty of this whole place. It's the beauty of those mountains that we moved here for, that we hiked in every day. Coming back up here and facing all the reality that you had to face was perhaps the hardest time. You had two things you had to face. This place, we had about 30 trees. The county came in and cut down probably about 20 of them and just left them lying here because they felt they were dangerous, so badly burned they'd fall on people. So we came up to an incredible mess here. Then you have to start dealing with the insurance companies, which are not eager to give you any money, despite what they say in all the ads. They were trying as hard as they could to give us as little as possible. Some people got angry. Both of us felt tremendously stressed.
All the stresses catch up with people. There's been a huge ripple effect as to who's been affected by this fire. Of course, the people who lost their homes. The stress they've had for the last year is just unimaginable. All the paperwork and losing everything.
Oh, it went on for months, and we kept redoing
the income tax liability.
Did it have a window shade?
So everyone was having the same problem.
The insurance company did what was the molding on the left window on the third from the right.
And this was not just our insurance company.
The policy of the insurance company on the
big hassle now is
the
what
insurance company did a stick-by-stick analysis.
That's the next hassle.
It just goes on and on. It's on and on and on.
The biggest pitfalls are people trying to remember what was in their homes. It's very difficult to remember everything you've had in there. And at this point, people are challenged to do that. And we're helping them even if they discover it 6, 7, 8 months later. This community's always been so safe that I think folks just figured nothing like this could ever happen. For instance, folks would have their homes valued at $80,000 when the true replacement cost was probably closer to $200,000.
I really thought people would be getting back into their homes, rebuilding their homes a lot quicker than what they are. The sympathy isn't still here like it was a month after, a couple days after, you know, and the sympathy's not there. You know, people are liking to see that trailer park move now, get them out of there, and there's some people that don't have the option of moving. They're not done with FEMA. And it's a longer process than what I really think people were expecting.
And there's, I don't know how many, but there's a lot of houses up there. And I think it's really sad that they had to put in so many because so many people lost their homes. And I think it's 400 families lost their homes and 700 kids had lost their homes.
The federal government needed to house victims of the fire who had lost their homes or apartments. Some stayed with friends and family. Others moved into quickly set up mobile housing.
They didn't want us to call it FEMAville. They said it wasn't dignified. And so the government changed it to Phoenix Village. But I read it in the paper once. I didn't know what they were talking about. So we all love it calling it FEMAville, and that's what we call it.
It's been a big adjustment. You know, these trailers are, I mean, my wife and I are very appreciative of what the county and the federal government has provided for us, but it's just not home. And we're working hard towards getting back to a sense of normalcy.
My children are all gone, and they live in different states, so of course they all want me to move with them. You know, each one said, well, come and live with me, and come and live with me, and I thought, well, no, I'll try to stay for a while.
People who are renters are having a hard time finding anything to rent that, you know, at a cost they can afford compared to what they had before. And a lot of builders they don't have their money yet, and and they're not ready to make a decision yet. It could be 2003 before these trailers are gone.
We have an office in Los Alamos. We also have one on the Santa Clara Pueblo, one on the San Ildefonso Pueblo. We have a service center in White Rock and a service center in Espanola. And it's an opportunity, it's in the community. Folks can come in, they can sit down with a customer service rep to fill out their notice of loss, and then they can meet with a claims reviewer to help build their claim and move forward on the route of compensation.
With an appropriation of more than $600 million for the recovery effort in Los Alamos, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has the funding in place to help, but is doing something it has never tried before.
I think the biggest challenge has been taking a program that has never been done before in the government and the compensation piece, and creating it, getting up to speed, and getting out as much money as we have in a short time.
My wife and I have had nothing but good response from FEMA. Our claims reviewer, he's been here during the whole process.
I was quite surprised at the generosity of the FEMA and their willingness to work with us and the degree to which they helped us in putting together the paperwork. The FEMA guy would come to our house and work with us at the computer, working up the Excel spreadsheets.
And suggesting sometimes that I put in a higher price than I'd put in. He'd say, you can't replace that for that cost, put in this.
And they just did everything they could to help us out. The FEMA has been exceptional in their willingness to help.
We've had to take a little bit more time with some things than we would like to have. And again, we're only 7 months in. We can't say this has been a slow progress, but we would like to do things quicker. We'd like to be, always further ahead than where we're at.
It's important to remember in thinking of the 1 to 3 year recovery period that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And I say that often to people, that they've got to pace themselves. People have been going at sprint pace in this last year, I would have to say. And it's understandable. People want to get through it. But I like to encourage them that no matter how fast you go, it's still going to take its course.
These two we especially loved. I have some paintings of them. I do watercolors. And I did some paintings of them.
These are just pictures taken here and there at the old. I'd done a lot of work on the furnace. It's one of my motorcycles. This is the stuff. We had a shed full of stuff that burned up, and this helped us a little bit in remembering what we had lost for our endless Excel spreadsheets.
You have to have a certain amount of inner peace, I think, to be able to paint. A certain amount of inner quiet, and I just didn't have enough to be able to do this until about August. And then the first thing I painted was just the ruins, and I wanted to get in it the blackness of it. That was I did just before the fire. That was just our ponderosas. I loved our ponderosas. After they all burned, I did this one. I had to. You had to somehow express what the loss, and that was my way of doing it. We're still dealing with it. Everyone is. People are still undecided. You see, if you go around, you see a lot of lots with no signs of anyone building on it. People are still trying to figure out what they want to do. Everyone has been touched by it. I don't know when. It just gradually sort of evolves, and you go on with your life, but it's still something you're dealing with all the time. What's amazing is it's still burning. This is 4 days later, and it's still burning.
The fire came and went. I mean, that was 24 hours. We're talking about something that's almost a year later, and people are still trying to put their lives back together. And, putting your life back together takes a lot longer.
Even in the frustration on lost items and seemingly endless paperwork, there are signs that Los Alamos is beginning to recover.
Project Recovery is an organization helping move the community forward. They organized a neighborhood potluck just 4 weeks ago, It was the first time many of these friends had seen each other since the fire.
We'll attend that event and a couple more like it after this. While the fire invaded the town of Los Alamos for a short time, its effects will continue for decades.
And as psychotherapist Jeannie Shapiro has said, disaster recovery seems to last 1 to 3 years.
As we conclude our look at Los Alamos after the fire, there are good signs that this community is seeing a nueva vida, a new beginning.
This is the Camazon Trail, and then this is the trail we're adopting. And it's burnt all the way from here up to about there. They're everything but those last 2 bumps.
About 30% of our population here at school had their homes burned, and so it was a very emotional, trying time for all of us, and we really wanted to have our 6th graders be a part of the rebuilding, and so we asked them if we could adopt a nearby nature trail, the Camazon Trail, and so we did. And this agency helped us get a grant for the Park Service for $8,000, and with this grant, we were able to buy some supplies to start building.
These are things that we've done. This is us with bandolier leaders and people. And this is us with Kyle Buckley, the person who gave us those maps over there. And that's Ty's mom, who's over there. She came in to talk to us with the seed project we're doing.
My mom is doing a project with our class on how the fire sterilized the soil and how can plants come back up. And we planted the soil before spring break. Well, we put ground or soil in, then we put some seeds in, buffalo grass and grama grass. Then we put a little layer on top. And then my mom took them home during the week, during some spring break, and we cooked them in my grandparents' oven.
The purpose of this was to find out at what temperature the ground was sterilized.
The fire sort of fertilizes the ground, puts nutrition into the ground, so the plants have better chance of growing.
Maybe this fire could be a good thing, speaking of for the plants, that maybe the nutrition that went into the soil will help in time to grow this forest back better than it was before. But in time, it'll take a long time.
Honestly, the trees that they plant, the trails that they help rebuild, you're talking 25, 30 years. You're talking their kids and their grandkids enjoying those things.
Studies have shown that it is important for a community to acknowledge the anniversary of a disaster like this. It either can be on a personal level, if somebody in their home wants to just have some private commemoration, it can be on a family level, or it can be on a community level. There are things planned in the community here. In commemorating the anniversary, it's just merely acknowledging the reality of what happened. And that's an important milestone in healing.
We invited 4 different neighborhoods that were in the burnt area, and this is the first one tonight.
The intent is to try to bring communities together, to bring the people together who've been separated because of the fire. We hope that by the calls and the comments we've gotten from people that they will have an opportunity to see some of their friends and to be together again.
So we delivered these invitations door to door. We stuck them on the doors, and there was no RSVP, so we have no idea if we're going to have 10 people and it's a snowy night, or if we're going to have 250.
We're not making any speeches tonight. The purpose is to bring you together as a neighborhood. We've gone through a lot in the last year, and you deserve each other.
the vinyl melted. It didn't catch on fire. It just melted. It melted. And
you know, we're going to rebuild over here, we're going to rebuild over there. So this way we're getting to know who's coming back and what they're doing. And the house we were buying survived.
Wow.
And so we were very, very lucky.
You know, you look at everything you own, it's just a lot of stuff.
How do we cookies?
Yes, indeed, they did stop the fire from going into town because it's very obvious from the air.
Did you leave the keys for the RV I live here?
I retired from Los Alamos in '92.
You can spray it with an anti-flammable material that'll turn it gray in 2 years and black in 5.
So the whole neighborhood got together on Arizona Avenue.
So many people want to do something about what happened. They want to do something about all the trees that burned. And this is the most healing thing that they can do in that respect. Planting new trees is a rebirth, which is what this community is having. And that's just a way of contributing to that on a very literal sense. And it is important for the community to know that there is a rebirth taking place, and that most communities that do go through disasters like this report down the line, maybe 7 years down the line, that when they look back at the disaster, that they feel that it did change their life for the better, that they became aware of their strengths as human beings, and it gave them more self-confidence, and that they got their priorities straight about what's really important in life.
It's really a community-wide effort, and more than that, it's a northern New Mexico community effort, and that's something that's exceptional. We have had people from Hispaniola, from Albuquerque, from Santa Fe.
Well, we live here and we see this forest every day, and we just feel like we're doing a good thing if we get out here and plant some trees. You know, we feel like we're helping to bring the forest back.
This has been great. It's been so much fun because I've been here every day, and just watching the camaraderie that's going on with everybody coming up here and planting the trees, and I'm seeing new friendships, you know, that are started with each day of plantings, and people going away writing down each other's phone numbers.
I think we have almost 1,500 people on our volunteer rolls now. That's how many people we've had come out at one time or another. We're getting up over 20,000 hours of volunteer service.
You know, things will change. You know, eventually this landscape will look much different. Probably a lot more grass, a lot more brush. Whether it will be better or worse, I guess that depends on what your own values are. Nature doesn't care.
With all that's happened this last year, you know, you look at 2000 and you say, well, you know, a lot of bad stuff happened in 2000, and yet for Kathy and I both, it was an awfully good year. And the reason that it was a really good year was because we did get to experience the kind of the very best of all of our friends, our neighbors, our communities. We've been the recipients of all of that, and it's made us, I think, certainly a lot more grateful, a lot more, we feel very blessed. And so with everything else that's happened, 2000 was a good year on the whole.
Oh, we love living here. We want these kids to go to the elementary school, Mountain School right here, and we love this neighborhood. And this is Lillian. She's 11 weeks. And if you know the calculations, most likely she came about the night of the fire. We're going to hopefully break ground in 5 weeks. So maybe by Christmas we'll be in, maybe.
Charred Wood by Emily Powell, Mountain School, 6th grade. Charred wood scars the trail. Life rekindles in the snow. Fire is life again.
Thank you to all the people in Los Alamos for helping to put this program together.
And for the incredible spirit and determination to rebuild their town and their lives after the fire.
Good night.